In this fantasy awakening academy, a massive golden pillar of light suddenly pierces the sky, signaling a legendary awakening phenomenon that has the entire crowd of students completely losing their minds as the academy's top genius, Su Zioking, stands calmly right in the center of the storm, leaving the spectators to whisper in absolute shock about what kind of high-tier class she might get. While her instructor grins like a maniac, thrilled to finally break their long streak of mediocre students just as the swirling energy begins condensing into a massive glowing sword adorned with golden wings, which is quickly grabbed by a mysterious, elegant hand descending directly from the heavens, revealing a majestic winged angel that hovers gracefully above the crowd with the holy weapon, sending the instructor into a state of pure disbelief over this legendary, maxed-out holy attribute, prompting him to loudly announce her epic-tier seraph class to the entire cheering academy. This majestic seraph hovers right above Zioking, cementing her status as an absolute prodigy, which has the entire male student body completely losing their minds and cheering for their campus goddess, while our blue-haired main character stands calmly in the crowd, completely unfazed by all the hype. Because 300 years ago, mysterious spatial portals suddenly opened up and connected to dangerous secret realms, unleashing waves of terrifying beasts that immediately began wiping out human civilization across the globe, forcing humanity to adapt by awakening special classes to level up and conquer these deadly dungeons, allowing brave warriors and powerful mages to finally band together and fight back against the monsters, turning the tide of war as hunters reclaim their cities from the invading beast hordes. Normally, these awakened classes are ranked from basic all the way up to the legendary epic tier, but rumors whisper of even stronger hidden classes waiting to be discovered by the truly worthy. Our blue-haired protagonist, Wei Zio, reveals he actually transmigrated here and studied like crazy for this moment. While the principal congratulates Zioking for securing the city's very first epic tier class of the year, prompting her to politely thank him while promising to keep pushing her limits. But as she walks back down from the stage, she locks eyes with our main character, silently gloating that her legendary awakening will finally prove she is the superior genius, especially since her friends are already hyping her up to completely surpass him. Until the principal finally calls Wei Zio up to the stage for his turn. This crowd immediately starts whispering, doubting that a mere theory genius can match her epic tier class, though the principal secretly hopes our boy can pull off another miracle for the school's reputation, leaving Wei Zio to confidently step forward and unleash his own massive wave of awakening energy. Clenching his fist, our boy unleashes a surge of crackling golden energy that shakes the entire stage, sending a blinding shockwave of raw power rippling outward and blowing the spectators away as a massive pillar of golden light shoots straight up into the heavens with a deafening roar. But the warm golden glow suddenly vanishes as dark, ominous storm clouds roll in and freeze the air, revealing a terrifying, red-eyed skeleton draped in a dark cloak hovering amidst the purple lightning, which is quickly joined by an entire army of winged undead monsters swarming across the darkened sky, leaving the principal absolutely ecstatic as he realizes this bizarre phenomenon means an even greater class is coming, while Zioking stands frozen in sheer terror from the bone-chilling pressure radiating from these phantoms, though our main character just laughs maniacally in the center of the swirling purple vortex, completely embracing the god-tier dark energy as it explodes into a massive pillar that pierces the heavens. Wei Zio stands in the center of the swirling dark vortex, fully embracing the chaotic energy, which explodes into a massive purple shockwave that rattles the entire academy to its core until a sharp system chime rings out as a mysterious, glowing shovel descends from the light, leaving our boy completely dumbfounded as he catches this bizarre tool with both hands, while the principal reads the screen in disbelief, announcing his hidden undead summoner class and shovel weapon, prompting the entire student body to freeze in absolute silence at this ridiculous revelation, before they immediately burst into hysterical laughter, mocking him for awakening a glorified sandbox toy, allowing Zioking to smugly celebrate her easy victory, convinced she is still the school's undisputed genius, though our main character just scratches his head, wondering if the system made a massive mistake. To find out the truth, he quickly opens his personal status window to inspect his real stats. Wei Zio gasps in shock as his system screen reveals an absolute game-changer, an SSS-ranked talent called Immortality, which completely bypasses the usual summoning limits to let him command an infinite army of the undead, prompting our boy to take a closer look at his seemingly useless iron shovel, only to discover its special effect allows him to bury defeated enemies for bonus rewards. This means he can grind experience and claim extra loot at the exact same time, but his internal celebration is cut short when the impatient principal demands to see his skills, forcing our protagonist to step up and cast his very first undead summoning spell, as a massive purple magic circle erupts on the ground with crackling dark lightning, slowly summoning a glowing purple skeleton right in front of the entire crowd. Unfortunately, the principal immediately sighs in disappointment, recognizing it as just a weak, low-tier skeleton mage. Hoping to test its strength, the principal lightly taps the skeleton's head to see if it has any hidden power, only for the fragile summon to instantly crumble into a sad pile of dust and bones, sending the surrounding students into another massive fit of hysterical laughter over his seemingly useless class. But our main character just lets out a confident smirk, completely unfazed by their mockery, as he calmly explains to the disappointed principal that a single skeleton indeed poses no threat before raising his hand to activate his broken SSS-rank talent and show them his true power, which instantly triggers dozens of glowing purple magic circles to erupt all over the stage, leaving the principal utterly speechless as terrifying undead phantoms begin materializing right before his eyes. While Wei Zio proudly commands his rapidly growing army, proving that quantity has a quality of its own, until an endless, terrifying sea of skeletons completely floods the academy to cement his absolute dominance. This massive army of glowing purple skeletons completely fills the stage, sending shivers down everyone's spines, leaving the terrified spectators to wonder how a single student could possibly summon so many monsters. While a sweating Zioking realizes that sheer numbers can easily overwhelm even the strongest individual classes, prompting the smug principal to quickly claim this overwhelming power is all thanks to his hidden talent, though he admits that despite the weird shovel weapon, our boy's future is looking incredibly bright before instructing Wei Zio to dismiss his massive army so they can finally finish the ceremony. As the glowing magic circles fade, our protagonist secretly laughs at everyone for thinking he only summons basic skeletons, because his awakening vision revealed he will eventually command a legendary, sky-tearing skeletal dragon. And with that insane future power-up locked in, the chaotic awakening ceremony finally draws to a close, allowing the principal to congratulate the newly awakened students as they prepare for their dangerous hunter journeys. This instructor announces that everyone will head to the beginner's dungeon tomorrow morning to level up, which immediately grabs Wei Zio's attention since he can finally earn some sweet bonus points as the excited students disperse across the courtyard to prepare for their very first real raid. Though some arrogant blonde guy is already trying to hit on Zioking by bragging about his win class, only to get instantly shut down and rejected by the cold campus goddess without a second thought. Before she quickly runs over to catch up with our main character instead, prompting our boy to casually turn around and ask what she could possibly want from him, only for her to demand a rematch in tomorrow's dungeon to prove who is truly superior, leaving Wei Zio to confidently smirk and warn her that she still stands absolutely no chance, which completely triggers the proud prodigy as she angrily vows to wipe that smug grin off his face. Suddenly, an arrogant blonde guy named Kyan Zihao draws his glowing sword to defend Zioking's honor, threatening to break our boy's legs right now so he cannot even enter the dungeon tomorrow, but the cold goddess immediately steps in, telling her simp she will settle this score herself, forcing the blonde guy to reluctantly back down while warning Wei Zio to stay out of his way. Otherwise, he promises to beat our protagonist so badly that he will be bedridden for a month. Though Wei Zio just flashes a confident grin and tells the angry bully he will be waiting. This next morning, armored military transports arrive at the massive facility housing the dangerous trial grounds, where crowds of excited young students gather to prepare for their very first real combat experience as they whisper in anticipation about the 3 legendary secret realms hidden within this massive zone, hoping they can eventually survive the basic grasslands and unlock the higher-level dungeons waiting for them. Wei Zio confidently approaches Zioking as they prepare to enter the massive trial grounds, prompting her to ask if he plans to tackle the dungeon solo or with a party, which leads her to smugly declare she will also go solo to ensure a fair competition, before the loud voice of an instructor suddenly echoes across the hall to gather the students. He announces that the trial lasts 8 hours and requires everyone to reach level 3, sending a wave of excitement through the crowd as they realize how easy the points are, while the speaker adds that hunting elite monsters and bosses will grant massive bonus scores. Suddenly, a massive, swirling blue portal erupts in the center of the room to signal the start, as the overexcited students immediately charge straight into the vortex to claim their kills. Leaving our boy to casually stroll behind them, amused by how eager they are to fight, Wei Zio steps into the swirling blue portal, determined to put in some actual effort, and his boots touch down on the lush green grass of the beginner's dungeon, only for him to realize that the system has randomly scattered everyone to different starting locations, but a sudden rustling sound in the nearby bushes quickly cuts his thoughts short, revealing a tiny prairie marmot that looks surprisingly cute for a low-level monster, until the little creature suddenly opens its mouth and lets out an ear-splitting battle cry, forcing our boy to cover his ears in absolute shock at the deafening noise, before the hyperactive rodent launches itself forward like a furry high-speed missile, slamming directly into his chest with enough force to knock the wind right out of him, leaving our protagonist completely stunned as the angry beast immediately tries to bite his face off. Wei Zio's eyes widen in pure shock as the hyperactive rodent catches him completely off guard, and the angry little beast immediately latches onto his face with a relentless bite, forcing our boy to pry the aggressive creature off while yelling in absolute frustration, before he delivers a swift, powerful kick that sends the furry menace flying backward, leaving the defeated marmot to squeak in pain as it tumbles across the grass. Brushing off his clothes, our protagonist realizes he cannot afford to underestimate even these basic monsters, which prompts him to snap his fingers and unleash his dark magic to end this quickly, as a cloaked skeleton mage rises from a swirling purple vortex of dark energy, followed by an entire squad of undead casters materializing all over the grassy field. until 20 fully armed skeleton mages stand ready to incinerate the poor rodent with their fireball skills. Wei Zio points his finger and commands his newly summoned skeleton mages to attack the tiny rodent, which immediately prompts the undead casters to launch a barrage of massive fireballs at the helpless creature, engulfing the poor groundhog in a massive, fiery explosion that completely obliterates the surrounding grass, leaving the defeated beast knocked out cold as its tiny soul comically floats away into the sky. A glowing purple system window pops up to congratulate him on earning a measly 10 experience points, prompting our protagonist to sigh in disappointment since grinding this way will take an absolute eternity, but he quickly remembers his broken summoning talent and calls forth a massive horde of undead mages, ordering his entire army to enter free attack mode and wipe out every single monster in the zone. Meanwhile, back in a quiet meeting room, hot tea is poured as the academy's faculty gathers, anxiously discussing whether their students actually stand a chance against the rival second academy in this trial. This smug principal from the rival academy sips his tea, confident in his school's performance, and boasts to the others that they have successfully produced a powerful epic tier class. But another staff member quickly chimes in to reveal that our boys' school has a hidden class, which instantly causes the arrogant old principal to spit his tea out in absolute shock, demanding to know if this ridiculous rumor about a hidden class is actually true, while the other teachers eagerly anticipate their students racking up massive points against elite monsters. Meanwhile, back in the dungeon, Wei Zio's skeleton mages are absolutely obliterating the local wildlife, launching a relentless barrage of explosive fireballs that sends the poor prairie marmots flying everywhere, as the system notifications beep endlessly to register a massive stream of easy experience points, leaving our lazy protagonist to comfortably nap on the grass while his army does all the grinding. Wei Zio relaxes on the grass, while a steady stream of experience points floods his system screen, loving how his broken hidden class lets him level up without even lifting a single finger. But he decides to stop slacking off so he can finally test his shovel's special effect, walking over to one of the defeated prairie marmots to see what burying it will do. Our boy gets straight to work, using his trusty iron shovel to dig a fresh grave, before gently placing the defeated little rodent inside the dirt to rest in peace, which leaves him wiping his sweaty brow after completing his very first manual labor in this world, though his exhaustion instantly vanishes as he eagerly waits for the system to calculate his bonus loot. Suddenly, 3 glowing items pop out of the dirt mound as a congratulatory notification fills his screen, revealing a stat-boosting bracelet, some passive exp-generating incense, and a bottle of stat-enhancing corpse oil to jumpstart his build. Wei Zio holds up the pink incense sticks, questioning their incredibly shady and suspicious underworld nature. But he decides to light them up anyway to see what kind of effects they have, which immediately triggers a massive flood of passive experience points raining down on him, causing a bright pillar of golden light to erupt and level him up to level 2. A purple system window pops up to officially congratulate him on reaching level 2, leaving our boy absolutely thrilled by how ridiculously easy it is to gain experience, prompting him to eagerly pull out the jar of creepy corpse oil next, as he pours it directly onto his hand, instantly boosting all of his core stats by 1 point, and since it actually works, he decides to slather on even more of the dark liquid, triggering a massive spam of system notifications as he buffs himself to a whole new level. Wei Zio is blown away by his newly boosted stats floating right in front of him, realizing that even though this insane buff only lasts 10 minutes, it is absolutely broken, prompting our boy to happily march off with his shovel to find more monsters to bury. But a sudden barrage of system warnings alerts him that his skeleton mages are dying, followed by a massive explosion in the distance that completely shatters the peaceful silence, revealing a giant, raging beast that is easily tearing his undead army to absolute shreds, as a system window identifies the creature as a level 3 elite horned boar. Our protagonist quickly realizes his basic skeleton mages stood absolutely no chance against this monster, which immediately lets out a deafening roar as its red eyes lock onto him, before launching a high-speed charge to trample our smug hero into the dirt. This massive elite horned boar locks its glowing red eyes onto our protagonist and immediately charges, forcing Wei Zio to turn on his heels and sprint away in absolute panic. But the raging beast only accelerates, letting out a deafening roar as it closes the distance, leaving our boy with no choice but to quickly cast a defensive wall of purple magic. A massive collision erupts as the beast slams directly into the barrier with a bone-shattering impact, which completely obliterates his frontline skeletons, but successfully halts the beast's deadly momentum, allowing our sweating protagonist to slide back safely while thanking his lucky stars for his massive army, before he immediately raises his hands to cast another massive wave of undead summoning magic. Realizing the clumsy boar cannot turn quickly, he decides to exploit its weakness by surrounding it, as a perfect circle of skeleton mages materializes to trap the roaring beast in a fiery crossfire. Since the clumsy beast can only charge in one direction, our boy orders a relentless barrage of fireballs, engulfing the raging monster in a series of massive explosions that completely shatter its defenses, leaving the once terrifying elite beast knocked out cold on the grass with swirly eyes, before a brilliant pillar of golden light erupts to celebrate his massive experience point payout. A glowing purple system window pops up to reveal he scored some rare G-rank leather armor, prompting our protagonist to flash a massive grin at his incredibly lucky elite monster drop. which instantly wraps him in a protective golden glow that boosts his core physical stats. But he is not done yet, summoning his trusty iron shovel with a dark purple magical aura, as he eagerly gets to work burying the massive boar to see what crazy loot it yields, only for two mysterious glowing yellow orbs to suddenly float up from the freshly dug grave. Wei Zio complains about only getting 2 light orbs, calling this elite monster incredibly stingy. But his disappointment quickly turns to awe as the glowing orbs transform into 2 rare skill books, revealing the powerful G-rank skills Will-O-Wisp and Summon Skeleton Boar floating right in front of him, prompting our boy to immediately apologize to the dead beast for ever doubting its amazing generosity, especially since summoning a skeleton boar only costs 2 spirit points to easily build a massive army. Without wasting any time, he activates both books to absorb their dark magical knowledge right away, as a glowing purple system window confirms he has successfully learned both of his new skills, leading him to slam his hands down and activate a massive glowing purple summoning circle, which unleashes a terrifying giant skeleton boar that lets out an ear-splitting roar from the dark flames, leaving our protagonist absolutely thrilled as the system displays his new elite summon's incredibly broken stats. Wei Zio grins widely, thrilled that his new elite summon is going to make leveling up a total breeze, but a sudden, massive explosion of golden sword aura erupts in the distance and shatters his peaceful grind, prompting our boy to look over in surprise as birds scatter from the sheer power of the blast, only to find a giant turtle monster surrounded by a tense standoff between 3 other students, where an angry challenger protests that they found this elite beast first and refused to be robbed, though the smug, blonde bully named Kyan Zihao simply sneers that might makes right in this dungeon, leaving Wei Zio to watch from behind a tree, instantly recognizing the guy as a pay-to-win rich kid. Before the arrogant swordsman swings his glowing blade to unleash a devastating wave of golden energy, sending the 2 helpless students flying backward as they scream in absolute defeat, leaving the giant elite turtle completely defenseless as the wealthy bully prepares to steal their hard-earned kill. Kyan Zihao swings his glowing blade to unleash a powerful green snake sword aura at his target, but a group of skeleton mages suddenly ambushes them from the nearby bushes, launching a barrage of explosive fireballs that completely steals the kill on the giant stone turtle, leaving the arrogant blonde swordsman completely dumbfounded as his hard-earned prize is instantly vaporized. A purple system window pops up to congratulate Wei Zio on reaching level 6 with massive stat boosts, which immediately sends the furious bully into a screaming rage over having his elite monster stolen, though our boy just casually shrugs it off, claiming his summons acted entirely on their own, prompting the enraged swordsman to charge up a massive glowing golden strike to settle the score. This furious bully unleashes a devastating wave of energy directly at our protagonist with absolute murderous intent, forcing Wei Zio to quickly raise his hand and summon his dark magic to block the incoming attack. Wei Zio quickly summons a defensive wall of skeleton mages to intercept the incoming golden energy blast, but the devastating sword strike completely obliterates his fragile undead defenders in a massive explosion, leaving our protagonist sweating in disbelief as the shockwave barely misses his face, as he realizes his basic skeleton mages are simply too fragile to survive a direct hit. Nearby students watch the intense clash in absolute horror, convinced that our boy is completely doomed, though Wei Zio simply unleashes a massive surge of dark magic to prepare his counterattack, summoning a whole pack of terrifying skeleton boars through glowing purple magic circles, before he commands his newly summoned elite beasts to launch a devastating barbarian charge, which only prompts the arrogant blonde bully to swing his glowing sword in absolute defiance, slamming his heavy blade directly into the lead beast with a bone-shattering impact. Kyan Zihao stares in absolute disbelief, completely unable to comprehend how his powerful strike was blocked, as a massive skeleton boar lets out a terrifying roar right in his face before the elite beast slams directly into him, shattering his defense and sending his sword flying, which sends the arrogant bully crashing hard onto the dirt in absolute pain. Without giving him a single second to recover, the entire pack of skeleton boars charges forward, leaving the terrified swordsman scrambling backward on the grass while begging for mercy, but his desperate cries are cut short as a massive skeletal hoof stomps him down, leaving him completely knocked out and covered in dirt from the brutal beatdown. Nearby students watch the entire one-sided beatdown in absolute horror, completely stunned by Wei Zio's power, realizing they need to quickly drag the unconscious bully out before things get even worse. Wei Zio casually waves goodbye and thanks the 2 terrified students for cleaning up his mess, as they quickly drag their unconscious, beaten-up bully friend away from the battlefield, giving our boy the perfect chance to finally start burying his freshly defeated targets, starting with the massive stone turtle that is practically guaranteed to drop some incredible loot. Suddenly, a massive splash of glowing blue liquid rains down and completely interrupts his peaceful plans, forcing our protagonist to quickly leap backward as a giant watery monster crashes onto the grass, which a purple system window immediately identifies as a terrifying level 5 splitting slime boss, and he can barely believe his luck as he stares down the massive threat. This angry boss monster immediately bubbles up to unleash a deadly corrosive attack directly at him, prompting our boy to quickly charge up his dark purple magic to counter the incoming threat. Wei Zio unleashes a powerful blast of purple ghost fire to intercept the incoming green acid, which splashes harmlessly onto the grass and immediately starts sizzling with intense corrosive power, leaving our boy sweating as he realizes a single direct hit would melt him to the bone. But the giant slime boss does not stop, launching a massive barrage of toxic green droplets into the sky. Refusing to back down, Wei Zio summons his skeleton mages and orders them to launch a counterattack, prompting the undead army to unleash a massive wave of fiery projectiles right back at the monster, triggering a chaotic mid-air clash as fire and acid collide in a series of violent explosions. Though the corrosive slime still manages to break through, instantly melting his fragile mages on contact. Realizing his basic skeleton mages are simply too squishy to survive this toxic onslaught, he switches tactics, as he summons a stampede of heavily armored skeleton boars to lead a devastating frontline charge. This giant blue slime boss lets out an angry gurgle as it prepares to defend itself, but his heavily armored skeleton boars slam directly into the beast with a massive impact, leaving our protagonist to pump his fist in absolute triumph as his strategy works perfectly, though the furious boss monster only gurgles with rage as red anger marks pop up. Suddenly, the giant creature begins to violently expand and shake under the immense pressure, splitting itself into a massive army of smaller, highly corrosive blue slimes, which only makes our boy recall his textbook lessons about how these monsters multiply. Yet he simply flashes a confident smirk, completely unfazed by their overwhelming numbers. Raising his hands, he unleashes a massive wave of dark magic to summon his own army. While the bubbling slimes prepare to launch a devastating barrage of toxic green acid, Wei Zio commands his tanky skeleton boars to charge forward and absorb the toxic acid, which splashes harmlessly against their thick bones as they shield the rest of his army, allowing our boy to order his skeleton mages to fall back and unleash absolute fiery chaos, as a massive barrage of explosive fireballs rains down directly on the clustered slimes, triggering a series of massive explosions that completely vaporizes the entire splitting slime army, which instantly triggers a golden level-up light as the system confirms the boss is dead. Looking at the battlefield, our protagonist is thrilled to see a massive field of glowing loot, revealing a giant circle of low-level gear and potions that are perfect for selling, prompting him to pull out a massive sack to collect every single valuable drop. As he happily scoops up the glowing orbs to completely clean out the entire dungeon, a purple system window announces the end of the trial, engulfing our boy in a bright blue teleportation light, leaving him completely caught off guard by how quickly his farming session has come to an end, though he still holds onto his massive sack of loot tightly as the magic pulls him away, sending all the exhausted students back to the starting area as they complain about the time limit. While our protagonist materializes on a giant magic circle, wishing he had just a few more minutes, as nearby classmates gossip about their close calls and a top student soloing a wolf pack, prompting Wei Zio to quietly acknowledge her impressive strength while keeping his own massive gains hidden before a familiar voice suddenly calls out to him from across the crowded school plaza, revealing his best friend Zhang Dahai, who eagerly jogs over to show off his progress, only to laugh off our boy's high guess of level 5 with a humble joke. Dahai proudly flexes and boasts about reaching level 4, securing some sweet bonus points for his final exams, prompting Wei Zio to give him a thumbs up before his buddy smugly promises to protect him from now on, but their celebration is suddenly cut short when the school beauty calls out to our protagonist from behind, leading Dahai to bravely step forward, confidently offering to handle this gorgeous rival on his best friend's behalf, only for the powerful girl to instantly shove him aside with a single, effortless flick of her hand, which sends the overconfident tank flying backward through the air in absolute shock, as he crashes face first onto the hard pavement with a painful groan. Furious that his best friend was just disrespected, Wei Zio immediately charges up his purple magic and raises his shovel, while the blue-haired girl draws her glowing golden sword and dares him to bring on his best attack, triggering an explosive clash as both powerful students leap into the air to trade blows. Wei Zio stands his ground with his trusty shovel as the school beauty prepares to strike, unleashing a blinding beam of golden sword energy that tears up the pavement right toward him, but our boy casually blocks the massive blast with his shovel and mocks her weak attack, prompting the shocked girl to activate her insight skill to analyze his ridiculous physical strength, only to discover a system window revealing that this crazy summoner has already reached level 7, which leaves her completely frozen in disbelief as he immediately charges forward to counterattack, stopping his heavy shovel blade just millimeters away from her neck in a display of absolute control, before he playfully asks why she did not even try to dodge his incoming strike, forcing her to admit that avoiding the blow would have been completely pointless anyway, though she still warns him not to get cocky before walking away to prepare for their final exam. Wei Zio watches the school beauty walk away, wondering why she is so obsessed with winning all the time, while a mysterious man in the crowd notes his insane potential for hitting level 7, so quickly flashing a creepy, fanged grin as he reveals that the defeated bully hired him to target our protagonist. But back on the plaza, Dahai complains that he worried for nothing since his buddy was secretly overpowered. Our boy just laughs it off and blames his friend's own desire to act all modest and humble, before saying goodbye to head out on his own to take care of some personal business, arriving at his destination with a massive sack of valuable loot slung over his shoulder, as he enters the local trading market to cash in on his hard-earned dungeon drops. Suddenly, a shady merchant creeps up right behind him to offer some sketchy gear deals, while a sleek white car speeds down the road toward an unknown destination. Inside the sleek white car, Xiaoking's father notices her gloomy expression and asks why she looks so unhappy, leading the depressed school beauty to stare out the window while questioning if she is a total failure, but her dad quickly reassures her through the rearview mirror, calling her one of the class's top students. Though she still cannot accept her defeat against our overpowered protagonist during their intense clash today. Hearing this, her wealthy father casually offers to use his massive influence to help her get even, which she immediately rejects, determined to surpass her rival and defeat him entirely on her own merits before warning her dad that the powerful Cayenne family will likely target Wei Xiao for beating up their heir, prompting her father to laughingly agree while secretly deciding to investigate this mysterious kid's background. Meanwhile, a shady merchant at the trading market approaches our boy to offer some sketchy gear deals, only for Wei Xiao to reject him, instantly realizing this pushy salesman is just trying to rip him off. This merchant rubs his hands together, claiming that nobody in the entire market offers better prices than him. So our boy casually drops his massive sack of dungeon loot right onto the pavement, which immediately bursts open with a blinding golden glow that completely stuns the greedy shopkeeper, leaving him to drool over a rare level 5 slime sword among the 25 pieces of gear. Thinking he can easily scam the kid, the merchant offers a lowball price of 15,000, but Wei Xiao confidently holds up 2 fingers and demands at least 20,000 instead, prompting the ecstatic merchant to instantly agree and seal the deal with a lightning-fast handshake, instantly making our protagonist regret his life choices as he realizes he got totally ripped off. Trying to change the subject, the smug merchant asks if he attends the local academy, before pulling out a handy spatial storage bag to upsell him for his future dungeon runs. Wei Xiao eyes the spatial storage bag and casually asks the merchant for the price, which prompts the shady salesman to offer a student discount of 30,000 yuan, but our boy immediately counters by cutting that price straight in half to 15,000. Only for the ecstatic merchant to instantly accept the deal before he can even change his mind, sending a quick digital payment notification that confirms the transaction is officially complete, leaving our protagonist completely dumbfounded as he realizes he just got ripped off yet again. Before the scene shifts to a rundown urban village where a mysterious blindfolded elder is renting a room, who calmly takes the key from the landlady while agreeing to her strict moving out terms, though he secretly grumbles about having to babysit a teenager on behalf of his cautious boss. Just as Wei Xiao finally arrives at the very same apartment complex to move into his new place, Wei Xiao is greeted by a gorgeous woman named Wu Xinyu as he arrives at his new apartment, who congratulates him on awakening as a necromancer and taking first place in the recent trial, prompting her to suddenly lunge forward and wrap him in an incredibly tight, enthusiastic hug, leaving our flustered protagonist pinned against the wall as she cryptically promises to give him a special gift, as she leans in close to whisper that he needs to close his eyes for this surprise, which makes his mind race as he remembers her late husband and blushes furiously in anticipation, only for her to playfully pull out a small wooden box containing a glowing purple item instead, catching our boy completely off guard as he stares down at the mysterious object she presented, revealing a rare skeletal finger that can upgrade his undead summons and grant him a powerful transformation, before she solemnly explains it belonged to her late husband, whose mysterious death is tied to this artifact. Wei Xiao asks if she's giving him this artifact to investigate her late husband's mysterious death, and she tearfully confirms her hope that he can avenge her husband while gaining immense power, leaving our protagonist to carefully weigh the incredible benefits against the massive target this puts on his back. But after a moment of intense calculation, his eyes lock onto his final decision, realizing that fortune favors the bold and he simply cannot turn down a friend in need. He confidently accepts the wooden box, promising her that he will do his absolute best to help, which prompts the emotional woman to instantly pull him into another tight, tearful embrace, though she quickly backs off with a warm smile, deeply grateful just for his willingness to try. Waving a friendly goodbye, our boy heads out to finally test his crazy new upgrade, completely unaware of a sudden, ominous red flash that marks the beginning of his next dangerous challenge. Wei Xiao sits in his room examining the skeletal finger, realizing it is definitely no ordinary item, prompting him to immediately test its power by squeezing the glowing purple artifact, which triggers a massive surge of dark magic as he activates his undead transformation, engulfing the entire room in an explosive cloud of purple smoke and ghostly energy. A system notification warns that the form drains his experience while revealing his new skeleton body, leaving our boy thrilled to discover that all of his stats have been massively boosted, but he suddenly realizes that this complete physical transformation might have a major downside, leading him to slowly peek down his pants to check on his personal enhancement, only to burst into tears of pure comedic despair upon realizing there is absolutely nothing left. Terrified of staying this way forever, he frantically screams and tries to cancel the spell immediately. Wei Xiao screams in panic as he forces the dark magic to reverse, and sighs in relief when he successfully reverts back to his normal human form, though he quickly realizes this crazy transformation drains way too much experience to use casually. But his thoughts are suddenly interrupted by a strange noise coming from his front door. Turning around with a sharp glare, our boy demands to know who is lurking outside, only to get dead silence as the door slowly creaks open on its own. prompting him to cautiously approach the entrance to investigate this creepy uninvited guest. Suddenly, the mysterious blindfolded elder from earlier materializes in the doorway, calling out our protagonist's name, which completely startles Wei Zio into throwing a panic-fueled punch at the supposed ghost, but the powerful old man casually catches the heavy fist with a single hand. This old man calmly blocks the punch, explaining that he is actually just the new next-door neighbor, who praises our boy's sharp reflexes while cryptically mentioning a young miss who has her eye on him, leaving the young summoner completely baffled as the mysterious elder casually waves goodbye and walks away, before our protagonist stands alone in his room, deeply confused by the old man's bizarre warning. This next morning, a peaceful bird flies across the sky to mark the start of a brand new day, where a massive crowd of excited students gathers at the Academy Plaza for a major announcement as everyone eagerly whispers about who managed to secure the coveted first-place spot in the recent trial. But the school beauty immediately corners our protagonist to demand how he reached level 7 so quickly. He casually explains that he just took down a boss and some mobs, leaving her completely speechless. Right as the head announcer takes the stage to finally reveal the official rankings to the crowd, this announcer officially crowns Wei Zio as the first-place winner, displaying his insane battle record for everyone to see, which leaves the school beauty completely speechless as she stares at the undeniable proof of his level 7 status, while the surrounding crowd erupts into gossip over how a simple summoner managed to completely outclass the Academy's top elites. But the announcer keeps going, declaring Zio King in second place while rounding out the rest of the top rankings. Refusing to accept defeat, the frustrated school beauty immediately confronts our boy to declare that their rivalry is far from over, prompting him to flash a confident smirk and playfully tell her he is ready to take her on any time before the announcer wraps up the assembly by reminding the students they have only 29 days left until the final exam, leaving the rest of the class to watch in awe as our overpowered protagonist casually walks away from the crowd. Knowing that time is ticking, he decides to head straight toward the dungeon plaza to squeeze in some extra leveling, where a massive digital billboard displays lucrative buy orders for rare monster parts like goblin hearts and minotaur horns. Wei Zio scans the digital billboard for lucrative commissions, but decides to skip the boring green prairie, choosing to test his skills in the much more challenging orc lair instead before walking past the plaza guards toward the massive teleportation arrays lining the courtyard, where he steps onto a glowing magic circle, confident that this dungeon's difficulty is perfect for him. A sudden burst of bright blue energy erupts from the ground, instantly teleporting him away. He materializes in a vibrant forest, immediately questioning if this peaceful place is actually the orc lair. Cute woodland creatures play peacefully in the trees, making the entire zone look completely harmless, but our boy refuses to let his guard down and immediately summons his trusty skeleton squad just as a pack of ferocious, red-eyed wolf monsters begins stalking him from the dark canopy above, before one of the beastly predators suddenly lunges down with a terrifying roar to shred him. Wei Zio dodges as a ferocious gnoll leaps from the shadows to launch a sudden sneak attack, prompting our annoyed protagonist to complain about how every single dungeon monster loves pulling this exact trick before he unleashes a powerful blast of dark magic that hits the howling beast dead on, sending the creature flying backward to crash violently against the forest floor. A system notification pops up to reward him with 25 experience points for defeating the level 1 mob, leading our boy to recall from his academy textbooks that these monsters always hunt in packs, which is immediately proven correct as a massive horde of angry gnolls surrounds his small squad, prompting him to smirk confidently while ordering his undead summons to prepare for a counterattack. He commands his skeleton mages to blow them up, instantly charging their hands with blazing fireballs, which they unleash in a devastating barrage of explosions that completely engulfs the entire pack. This explosive barrage completely obliterates the gnoll pack, earning our boy a sweet chunk of bonus experience, leaving the defeated beasts scattered across the forest floor as the dust finally begins to settle, prompting our protagonist to happily pull out his trusty shovel to get straight to work, as he enthusiastically begins burying the fallen monsters to harvest their valuable drops, triggering a massive cluster of glowing purple energy orbs to float up from the fresh graves, which rewards him with rare crafting materials alongside an incredibly rare skill book called Insight, making our young necromancer absolutely thrilled to secure such an expensive skill for free, since learning this powerful ability directly saves him from spending a fortune at the market, allowing him to instantly activate the glowing tome and absorb its magical knowledge, before he channels his newly earned experience points to summon a massive, upgraded skeleton boar. Wei Zio carefully pulls the glowing skeletal finger out of its wooden box to begin the upgrade process, and holds the powerful artifact close to his summon's massive bones to initiate the transformation, which triggers a violent explosion of dark purple magic that completely consumes the entire forest clearing, revealing a system screen that boasts insane stat boosts and a new beast general classification for his summon. Out steps a terrifying, red-eyed skeleton boar radiating an intense aura of pure destructive power, leaving our protagonist absolutely thrilled to see its rank jump all the way up to E rank, prompting him to playfully name this massive, terrifying beast Peppa while giving it a friendly pat. Next, he burns some grave incense to quickly harvest a massive wave of extra experience points, allowing him to use the artifact once more to trigger a breakthrough for his skeleton mage, sending a massive wave of dark energy swirling around the spellcaster as its evolution begins. This system confirms his skeleton mage has successfully evolved into a terrifying D-rank boss-level summon, prompting our delighted protagonist to playfully name his newly upgraded Red Cloak spellcaster Aints. And with his upgraded squad finally ready, he flashes a confident grin before leaping straight off the high ledge to dive headfirst into the action. Declaring that it is time to completely turn this dangerous orc lair upside down, a group of beefy, axe-wielding minotaurs suddenly blocks his path with some incredibly confused mooing, but they are instantly met with a massive, blazing wall of fire, leaving the lead monster completely bewildered as the heat rapidly closes in, right before a devastating explosion blasts the muscular beasts into absolute oblivion. Seizing the momentum, our boy commands his entire undead army to charge forward and sweep the battlefield. A pack of angry minotaurs roars furiously, ready to tear our protagonist apart with their massive axes, but Wei Zio just smiles excitedly as he prepares to unleash a barrage of dark magic spells which instantly detonates right in their faces, sending the muscular beasts flying in every direction. Before 3 hours of relentless grinding pass with Peppa absolutely steamrolling through hordes of dungeon monsters, standing victorious over the fallen beasts, our boy is greeted by a sudden job advancement notification, announcing that his immortality talent has upgraded to transfer all incoming damage to his summons, leaving him absolutely thrilled, as he realizes this basically makes him completely unkillable in battle. But the system is not done yet, unlocking a brand new grave desecration skill for his exclusive weapon. Looking down at his trusty shovel, our protagonist cannot help but sweat at this hilariously unethical upgrade until a strange, glowing object hidden in the nearby bushes suddenly catches his attention. A deadly arrow suddenly shoots out from the dense foliage, aiming straight for our unsuspecting protagonist, catching Wei Zio completely off guard as he barely has time to react to the incoming projectile, which pierces him right in the chest and sends him flying backward with a painful scream. But as he crashes hard onto the forest floor, his passive defense system immediately kicks in, leaving him stunned to find himself still breathing despite having a massive arrow sticking out of him, especially since there is absolutely no blood or physical wound where the weapon struck his chest, prompting his eyes to widen in pure shock as he connects the dots about his new skill, realizing that his damage transfer talent successfully redirected the entire lethal blow to his summoned beast. Poor Peppa lets out a series of furious, agonizing roars as it absorbs the painful impact before the enraged skeleton boar charges straight ahead to hunt down whoever dared to shoot its master. A muscular, horned archer leaps high into the air, launching another devastating arrow down at our bull, prompting Wei Zio to immediately activate his newly acquired insight skill to analyze this mysterious attacker, which reveals a level 16 Minotaur boss named Yason, who surprisingly possesses an actual class, leaving our young summoner completely stunned that an intelligent monster like this is roaming the dungeon. But the agile boss does not give him any breathing room, instantly firing another massive projectile, which pierces our protagonist right in the chest with a violent impact that would normally be fatal, though he just casually smiles as the magical arrow dissolves harmlessly into pure purple energy. Before the heavyset Minotaur lands on the ground, realizing its deadly sneak attacks have completely failed, allowing our smug protagonist to confidently declare that it is finally his turn to strike back, leaving the formidable boss staring back in absolute shock as the tables suddenly turn. Yason realizes he is completely outmatched and immediately turns tail to flee through the woods, but our boy is not about to let his precious experience points escape, that easily sending his massive undead army charging forward to completely overwhelm the terrified Minotaur boss, before Wei Zio hops onto Peppa's back to relentlessly pursue the fleeing monster deeper into the forest. Following the trail, he suddenly stops at the entrance of a dark, ominous-looking cave, stepping inside with his summons only to stumble upon a pile of old human skeletons, which immediately makes him wonder why so many adventurers lost their lives in this specific spot. As he examines the scattered bones and realizes something is deeply wrong with this quiet cavern, suddenly a chilling realization hits him as he gasps, realizing he walked straight into a trap, right as the entire cavern's ceiling begins to violently collapse in a shower of heavy boulders. Red eyes suddenly light up in the darkness as a horde of hidden monsters surrounds him, but our boy just calmly claps his hands, genuinely impressed by the boss's clever trap before summoning his entire undead squad to prove that taking him down will not be so easy, prompting the furious Minotaurs to launch a barrage of heavy axes directly at his skeleton mages, which triggers a chaotic clash of fire and steel as the projectiles collide midair, leaving his resilient undead army completely unfazed as they prepare to launch their counterattack. While our smug protagonist reminds the beast that his endless summons will easily outlast their weapons, he commands his mages to blow them up, unleashing a massive wave of blazing fireballs, sending a torrent of heat crashing down to completely engulf the terrified Minotaurs in pure destruction, triggering a chain of massive explosions that rewards him with a sweet mountain of bonus experience. A golden system notification flashes to announce that our boy has successfully reached level 12, right before a massive, red-hot hoof violently slams down to shake the entire cavern floor, revealing the towering Minotaur boss who mockingly praises the young human for being completely fearless. But Wei Zio just smirks back, excited to harvest a massive mountain of elite experience points. This furious boss commands his horde to kill, charging forward with pure rage in his eyes. swinging his massive weapon to instantly shatter several of our boy's skeleton mages to pieces, which only fuels the beast's bloodlust as he roars and rampages directly through the undead ranks, before leaping high into the air to bring his giant axe crashing down on our protagonist. Our smug necromancer does not even flinch, calmly noting that this is the perfect time for a burial, right as the devastating strike connects to trigger a massive explosion of shattered rock and dust. But instead of crushing our boy, a skeletal hand reaches up to catch the giant blade, leaving the furious Minotaur boss completely stunned as his ultimate attack is stopped dead in its tracks, allowing our smug protagonist to step out from the shadows and calmly declare checkmate right before his upgraded skeleton mage charges a massive fireball directly in the beast's face, unleashing a devastating point-blank blast that completely engulfs the screaming monster in pure white-hot flames, which sends the powerful boss reeling backward as the magical explosion detonates right against his skull, launching his massive, muscular body flying through the air like a helpless ragdoll, before he crashes violently into the ground, triggering a spectacular explosion that shakes the entire cavern, which rewards our young necromancer with another level up as he casually steps through the dissipating smoke, ready to pull out his trusty shovel and finally get to work harvesting his hard-earned loot. Purple energy orbs float up from the ground where the Minotaur boss was defeated, revealing a massive haul of rare items like grave grass, corpse oil, and a berserker battle axe which our greedy protagonist happily scoops up while celebrating another incredibly tidy profit. But a sudden, glowing spear suddenly shoots down from the shadows to catch him off guard, though our smug boy just flashes a confident grin, revealing he was expecting this sneak attack, allowing him to effortlessly dodge the incoming projectiles as they slam harmlessly into the dirt, leaving the white-haired Minotaur boss staring down from a high ledge in absolute disbelief as the muscular beast realizes his ultimate surprise attack has completely failed to land. Wei Zio mockingly calls him a little calf and asks if he really thought he was defenseless, before his fully upgraded skeleton mages step forward to unleash absolute hell on the terrified boss. This white-haired Minotaur boss is absolutely baffled, demanding to know how a low-tier summoner has such a massive army, but Wei Zio just smirks right back, hilariously questioning how a dumb monster managed to grow a brain, before pointing his finger forward and commanding his undead squad to take down this overconfident little calf, which sends his terrifying skeleton mages surging ahead with dark magic swirling wildly around them, prompting the desperate boss to warn him not to celebrate his victory too early, as a barrage of blazing fireballs rains down from the sky to completely incinerate the beast. A massive explosion erupts across the cavern, engulfing the entire battlefield in a sea of white-hot flames, though the agile Minotaur manages to leap backward and unleash a devastating shockwave of jagged earth spikes, instantly summoning a massive, glowing bow of pure energy to launch a lethal projectile straight at our boy, sending it crashing down with cataclysmic force to shatter the cavern floor into a million pieces. Wei Zio immediately recognizes the danger, realizing the white-haired Minotaur is unleashing a massive area of effect skill, which causes the entire cavern floor to rupture as blinding beams of golden energy erupt upward, instantly vaporizing dozens of his skeleton summons into piles of useless dust and bone fragments. But our boy quickly recovers from the shock, commanding Peppa and Aints to launch a counterattack. Enraged by the threat to its master, the massive undead boar charges forward with a deafening roar, leaving the white-haired Minotaur boss completely stunned by the beast's unbelievable blinding speed, before Peppa slams directly into the boss with the force of a runaway freight train, forcing the desperate monster to summon a magical barrier that immediately begins to crack under pressure until a massive shockwave erupts to completely shatter his defenses and send him flying, prompting the arrogant boss to scream in pure agony as he crashes hard against the cavern wall. Aints does not hesitate for a second, launching a massive fireball directly at the white-haired boss's face, which slams right into the Minotaur's mouth and forces a painful scream from the arrogant beast, before the intense magical heat begins to swell and crackle violently deep inside his chest, triggering a massive fiery explosion that completely consumes the powerful boss in a blinding flash, leaving our protagonist to casually look down at the charred remains of his formidable opponent, though he is surprised to find the tough monster is somehow still barely breathing, prompting Wei Zio to decide that handing this intelligent beast over to the authorities is his best option. Meanwhile, outside the mysterious dome, heavily armed guards anxiously wonder why no one has returned yet, right as a massive glowing blue magic circle suddenly activates on the ground with immense power, unleashing a blinding pillar of light that signals the dramatic return of our victorious young summoner. Emerging from the blinding pillar of light, our boy returns with his undead army carrying the defeated boss, which immediately catches the attention of the anxious guards waiting outside the dungeon portal as they gasp in utter disbelief upon realizing that the lone survivor is actually Wei Zio. But their confusion quickly turns to horror when they notice the massive pile of bodies behind him. Our young summoner calmly explains that a highly dangerous, sentient boss had breached the dungeon's security, prompting the terrified guard to panic and declare that they must call in high-tier professionals immediately, only for our smug protagonist to casually tell him there is absolutely no need for that, before tossing the heavily bound, white-haired Minotaur boss right onto the pavement in front of them, leaving the guard completely speechless that a rookie actually captured a level 16 boss all by himself. while our confident hero just casually asks where he can cash in his massive haul of dungeon rewards. This guard points our boy toward the main office building to process his massive haul, prompting Wei Zio to thank him before leaving the captured boss and bodies behind as he casually strolls into the building to greet the stunned receptionist at her desk, before dumping a massive, glowing pile of rare minotaur horns directly onto her workspace, leaving the poor officer completely flabbergasted by the sheer volume of his high-tier loot, which she quickly evaluates to be worth a staggering 320,000 coins, allowing our smug protagonist to instantly pull out his phone and request a direct transfer, instantly processing the payment to make him a very wealthy young man in seconds. So he happily skips away, eager to spend his new fortune on some legendary gear, leading him straight to the bustling entrance of the local trading market to start shopping. Wei Zio strolls into the bustling market, silently praying he will not run into that annoying scammer merchant again. But speak of the devil, the shady merchant immediately spots him and waves with a massive grin, leaving our boy completely annoyed as he turns around only to find the persistent salesman right behind him. So he immediately waves him off, telling the guy to beat it since he has nothing to sell, though the merchant refuses to leave, teasingly claiming he has some highly valuable information our hero needs to hear, prompting Wei Zio to keep walking while loudly declaring that he is not interested in buying or selling anything, until the merchant casually pulls out a glowing skill book and a mysterious purple potion to tempt him, which instantly catches our protagonist's attention and makes him freeze right in his tracks as his system interface reveals a rare elite guard summoning skill and a powerful undead evolution potion, forcing our greedy necromancer to instantly zip back and eagerly ask how much for the entire set. This shady merchant smirks, teasing our boy about his sudden change of mind regarding making a purchase. But Wei Zio calmly explains that business is all about negotiation, before proposing a direct trade, instantly dumping his massive pile of high-tier minotaur loot right onto the floor, causing the greedy merchant to inspect the gear and try to lowball him with a cheap offer, which immediately backfires as our angry protagonist calls out the real value of his items, forcing the stunned merchant to admit that our boy is not so easily fooled anymore, though he still tries to salvage the deal by offering both rare items for the entire set, prompting our clever protagonist to finally accept the terms and seal the trade with a handshake while the merchant smugly warns him not to show off his best loot to just anyone, leaving our boy to walk away while silently calling the shady salesman a total business shark. Wei Zio walks away as the merchant waves goodbye, shouting for him to bring more high-tier loot next time, while our boy examines his new purple potion, eager to find a quiet place to test its power. But a mysterious stalker in a blue hoodie watches him from the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike, whispering to himself that our protagonist made a fatal mistake by offending the wrong people. Drawing a glowing blue dagger, this stealthy assassin prepares to execute a lethal backstab, before launching himself forward with blinding speed directly toward our unsuspecting hero, which instantly alerts Wei Zio's sharp senses as he quickly spins around to face the sudden threat, only for the killer to loudly declare that the powerful Cayenne family paid a fortune for his head, instantly shattering one of our boy's defensive skeleton mages with a single high-speed slash as the crazed assassin lets out a maniacal laugh, fully confident he is about to finish the job. This assassin lands a clean slash across Wei Zio's back, seemingly ending the fight instantly, as the smug killer casually walks away while complaining about how easy the job was. But his celebration is cut short when a chilling voice suddenly calls out from behind him, revealing our boy is completely unharmed and standing right there with a terrifyingly calm expression, before Wei Zio refuses to explain his survival and instantly draws a lethal glowing red dagger, unleashing a lightning-fast counterattack that drives the blade deep into the shocked assassin's chest, sending the defeated killer crashing onto the cold pavement as his life quickly fades away, leaving the dying man to stare up in absolute horror at our protagonist's overwhelming power, which triggers a massive system notification rewarding our boy with 30,000 experience points, while he casually inspects his weapon, mockingly noting that a mere human was not even worth his best gear. Night falls over the quiet forest as a flock of birds scatters into the dark sky, revealing a glowing pile of loot that includes rare materials and some mysterious hell notes, leaving our boy completely puzzled as he stares at the bizarre skull-faced underworld currency until the system suddenly detects the cache and begins initializing a legendary underworld shop, summoning a massive green glowing vault packed with rows of high-tier items for him to browse, which instantly blows him away as he senses the incredibly dense magical aura radiating from the shelves, though his excitement quickly dies down when he notices the astronomical prices on the top-tier skills, with even the mid-tier weapons and armor costing hundreds of millions of hell notes, forcing our broke protagonist to realize his single $10 bill is completely useless here, so he reluctantly closes the shop and resolves to slowly grind his way to absolute wealth. Wei Zio decides to kick things off by upgrading his basic skeleton guard first, summoning a massive, glowing purple magic circle that erupts with intense spiritual energy, which brings forth a sturdy skeleton warrior equipped with a heavy bone shield, leaving our boy highly impressed with his newly summoned elite defensive tank. Without wasting a single second, he commands the undead warrior to evolve further, triggering a massive transformation that turns the summon into a heavily armored skeleton lord, revealing an absurdly high constitution stat that makes our protagonist completely ecstatic. so he proudly names his unkillable new tank Tuffy before turning his attention elsewhere. Pulling out the mysterious purple potion, Wei Zio eagerly tells Ain't it is his turn next, prompting the powerful skeleton mage to immediately begin infusing the legendary liquid's dark energy. Ain't absorbs the potion and successfully evolves into a terrifying, red-glowing skeleton archdemon, leaving our smug protagonist completely thrilled about securing the MVP spot in his next raid before he casually stretches and decides it is finally time to head home for some sleep, while a mysterious white-haired elder watches from the shadows, thoroughly impressed by our boy's hidden strength. This scene shifts to a massive, luxurious mansion belonging to one of Jiang City's most powerful families, where the white-haired elder reports Wei Zio's shocking victory over the Tier 3 assassin to his patriarch, explaining how the young summoner even had his undead beast casually bury the body afterwards, which leaves the powerful patriarch completely baffled as to why the kid would bother doing that. This elder reassures his boss that our overpowered protagonist clearly does not need any of their protection, prompting the patriarch to worry about how this sudden development will affect his daughter's fierce rivalry. This powerful patriarch orders his elder to keep guarding Wei Zun until he safely enters Capital University, while our protagonist teleports back into the wild dungeon through a massive, glowing blue magic circle determined to explore the hidden areas he missed when that annoying beast lured him away last time. So he dashes forward with incredible speed, ready to completely wipe out the entire monster nest. Arriving at a massive clearing, he spots a huge army of howling minotaurs gathering below, prompting our stealthy hero to quickly hide behind a tree and observe their strange behavior only for his system to reveal a powerful level 30 minotaur priest leading a dark ritual, which makes Wei Zio realize that his previous opponent was actually trying to stop this ceremony. Suddenly, the giant priest's eyes glow with intense magical light as he senses an intruder nearby, instantly ordering his bloodthirsty guards to hunt down the outsider and bring him back alive. A horde of angry minotaurs charges forward, kicking up massive clouds of dust as they attack, but our boy calmly steps forward and orders Tuffy to hold the front line, prompting his newly evolved tank to instantly deploy a row of massive, glowing purple shields, which easily absorbs the heavy impact of the charging beast's massive battle axe, allowing Wei Zio to confidently order Aints to launch their devastating counterattack. A massive barrage of explosive fire magic instantly obliterates the entire Minotaur vanguard, leaving the powerful Minotaur priest completely stunned by how quickly his forces were wiped out. So the furious boss begins channeling a massive wave of dark, blood-red energy, chanting a powerful spell to summon the boundless strength of the Earth Mother, only for our smug protagonist to mockingly ask if he really has time for that. Wei Zio suddenly commands Peppa to charge, catching the chanting Minotaur priest completely off guard as the massive shadow boar slams directly into the boss with a devastating headbutt, sending the powerful priest crashing violently onto the dirt in a cloud of dust, leaving the terrified monster to pathetically beg for mercy as the beast looms over him before Peppa ruthlessly stomps the boss into oblivion, earning our boy 20,000 experience points, which instantly triggers a massive level-up animation that officially pushes him to level 14. Walking over to the crater, our smug protagonist mockingly calls the priest a total coward only to notice a rare, glowing skill book floating directly above the monster's remains, which the system identifies as Advanced Meditation, a legendary high-tier treasure for mana recovery, prompting our ecstatic hero to instantly learn the skill and absorb its powerful magical energy. System confirms he acquired Advanced Meditation, boosting his mana recovery speed by a whopping 200%, prompting our boy to immediately sit down and test out this incredible new passive buff, which instantly triggers a massive level-up notification as all of his stats shoot up by 100 points, leaving him absolutely thrilled about his insane leveling speed ahead of the upcoming college entrance exams. Deciding he has done enough grinding for today, Wei Zio steps through a glowing blue portal to head home, as the scene fast-forwards a few days to show the peaceful morning sun shining over the city, where our overpowered protagonist is still quietly meditating in his room while surrounded by intense golden energy, until his eyes suddenly snap open with a fierce glow, signaling that the big exam day has finally arrived, instantly standing up to stretch his limbs as he prepares to show the entire world his true, terrifying power before the action shifts directly to the massive academy arena where the ultimate test is about to begin. Wei Zio arrives at the massive practical test arena, looking around with other students wondering what monsters they will face, while the announcer on the high platform addresses the crowd, declaring that the unified exam has finally begun, revealing that this year's targets are goblins, minotaurs, and slimes ranging from level 10 to 20, which allows the students to choose their own difficulty and monster types to earn their grades. Suddenly, the announcer calls up the first challenger to step forward and show off his skills, prompting a confident red-haired student to leap dramatically right into the center of the arena, where he boldly selects a horde of level 10 goblins and a level 15 minotaur boss, before the system instantly spawns the ferocious beasts directly in front of him. Spectators watch in absolute awe as a powerful red aura begins to envelop the challenger, allowing him to summon his legendary crimson armor in a massive, fiery explosion of spiritual energy. Liu Ming draws a glowing red slime sword, instantly making the crowd realize he is totally pay to win, as spectators gossip about the insane $50,000 price tag and its massive attack bonus, while a nearby merchant fumes in absolute rage after realizing he got scammed during the sale. before the red-haired challenger unleashes his lightning assault skill to blitz across the battlefield, tearing through the monster horde with a series of blinding, zigzagging energy slashes, which allows him to land perfectly as the dust begins to settle around him, until he triggers a final massive explosion that completely obliterates the remaining beasts. This announcer proudly declares a score of 161 before calling up Su Zioking, prompting the fierce female warrior to draw a gorgeous glowing golden sword with feathered wings as she boldly steps forward to challenge 5 level 20 goblin bosses all at once. This crowd gasps in absolute shock upon hearing she is challenging 5 level 20 bosses at once, while our protagonist smirks from the sidelines, amused by her fierce determination to outshine him, before the arena system suddenly flashes green to spawn the 5 ferocious goblin bosses. These squealing monsters immediately brandish their daggers and charge forward with bloodthirsty intent, prompting the fierce warrior to unleash her legendary 6-winged angel class in a burst of golden light, which allows her to soar high above the battlefield while the horde gathers directly below her, until she swings her glowing blade to unleash a devastating holy light sword chi slash, sending a massive pillar of pure golden energy crashing straight down onto the target area, obliterating the entire goblin squad in a blinding explosion of holy power. Spectators are left completely dumbfounded, unable to believe she wiped them all out in a single strike. This announcer screams into his mic, declaring that Su Zioking scored a massive 300 points, which sends the entire crowd into a wild frenzy as they cheer for her incredible performance, prompting the smug female warrior to walk past our protagonist and mockingly tell him to enjoy her scraps. While a group of wealthy academy officials discuss the rumors of a legendary hidden class student, this confident announcer smiles warmly, admitting he has incredibly high hopes for our overpowered protagonist's debut, leading the skeptical elders to ask exactly how many high-level bosses he expects the kid to challenge, as the host ponders deeply before suggesting that 10 bosses should be well within his reach, only for the shocked elders to scoff, claiming that 5 already broke a 10,000-year record. This host simply smirks and tells them to sit back and watch the magic happen, before raising his microphone to order the remaining students to clear the field for our boy. Wei Zio casually approaches the annoyed Su Zioking, asking if she can do him a quick favor, promising to go absolutely all out in this test if her powerful family agrees to his terms, which immediately makes the surrounding crowd gossip about how incredibly thick-skinned our protagonist is. But she accepts the deal anyway, prompting our smug hero to confidently accept her challenge. Leaping high into the air with incredible force, he launches himself directly toward the battlefield, landing gracefully right in the center of the massive arena as everyone watches in anticipation, only for him to boldly demand a whopping 100 level 20 slime bosses all at once, leaving the announcer completely frozen in absolute shock by this utterly suicidal request. Other students immediately panic, claiming he has completely lost his mind and will die of exhaustion, but our boy calmly tells the worried host that he has already thought everything through. Wei Zio casually walks into the arena, mockingly complaining that he wanted to summon twice as many, leaving the academy officials completely speechless as they decide to just let him learn his lesson, before the worried host finally relents, warning our smug protagonist to be extremely careful out there. A massive glowing blue magic circle instantly erupts across the entire battlefield to begin the trial, prompting our boy to confidently call forth his own massive army of undead thralls as a terrifying horde of purple glowing skeleton soldiers rises from the shadows to defend him, followed by the massive shadow boar Peppa letting out a deafening roar that shakes the arena. Spectators watch in absolute horror, realizing that our overpowered protagonist's summons are completely off the charts, while the army of level 20 slime bosses begins spitting a massive wave of green corrosive acid, which is instantly blocked by Tuffy's giant purple shields as our boy calmly commands his front line. Wei Zio commands his backline skeleton mages to unleash a devastating barrage of fireballs, which instantly rains down on the helpless slime bosses in a series of massive explosions, prompting our smug protagonist to order his main summons to charge directly into the fray, as he ruthlessly commands his undead army to wipe out every single monster remaining, sending the massive shadow boar Peppa crashing through the slime ranks like a runaway freight train, while Aints grabs a terrified slime boss and blasts it point blank with intense magical fire, completely vaporizing the creature in a blinding flash of light that shakes the entire arena, allowing his powerful skeleton vanguard to easily crush the remaining monsters with brutal efficiency. This red-haired challenger watches in absolute horror, realizing our boy is treating level 20 bosses like absolute trash, leaving Su Zioking completely speechless as she finally witnesses the true, terrifying extent of his power. Wei Zio stands with arms wide open, basking in the glorious firestorm of his own making, as a colossal explosion completely engulfs the battlefield and leaves the spectators utterly speechless, until the system officially declares all 100 level 20 slime bosses defeated, ending the trial, leaving the academy officials sweating in absolute disbelief after witnessing a literal historical moment. This ecstatic announcer screams into his microphone, revealing a flawless, record-breaking score of 900 points, which sends the entire stadium of students into a wild frenzy of cheers and applause, while the defeated Su Zioking watches our smug protagonist walk away with a deeply frustrated expression as another elite student fumes in absolute rage, unable to comprehend his terrifying level of power. Approaching our boy, the fierce female warrior reluctantly prepares to honor her side of their deal, but Wei Zio admits his only real concern is finding someone strong enough to protect his father. Su Zioking looks at him with a puzzled expression, wondering what kind of favor he wants, prompting our boy to earnestly beg her to send some powerful experts to guard his family, which she immediately agrees to with a lighthearted chuckle, saying it is a total piece of cake. Leaving our ecstatic protagonist so incredibly thrilled that he impulsively pulls her into a tight hug, only for an angry rival to suddenly storm over, screaming in absolute rage at the physical contact. Later that evening, the scene shifts to a quiet city neighborhood as night falls over the streets, where our overpowered hero is sitting comfortably in his room while staring intently at his computer screen, preparing to log into the official provincial exam system to finally check his official score, until a sudden chime at the front door catches his attention and interrupts his search, making him confidently stand up and head toward the entrance to see who has finally arrived. Wei Zio reaches for the doorknob, wondering who could possibly be visiting him at this hour, only to open the door and find his dad, mom, and little sister standing outside, with his sassy little sister immediately accusing him of doing something shady because he took so long, prompting our overpowered protagonist to beam with absolute joy at their unexpectedly early return, as his parents explain they rushed over the second they received his call. Running straight into his room, his curious little sister eagerly spins his computer chair around where she freezes in absolute shock as her eyes lock onto the glowing monitor, which displays a mind-blowing score of 975, ranking him #1 in the province, sending the little girl into a wild frenzy while our smug hero strikes a proud pose before he playfully pats her head, casually claiming this legendary achievement is just his usual standard. This sassy little sister pouts, determined to absolutely crush his record when her turn finally comes, while his proud parents beam with joy and ask which elite university he plans to attend, prompting our boy to confidently choose Magic City Vocational University as his next big destination, before explaining that the powerful Su family will keep them safe while he is away. His father proudly pats his shoulder, telling him to focus on his future without any worries, sending our protagonist into a warm family hug before he sets off on his journey, which brings him directly to the massive, sunlit campus of Magic City Vocational University, where he confidently steps through the gates to officially register as a new student. Wei Zio proudly presents his official admission letter, ready to make his grand entrance, only for the board staff to casually tell him to wait with the other applicants. A gorgeous new female student named Nanjai arrives at the gate, politely introducing herself to the seniors, which instantly sends a group of nearby male students into a wild frenzy over her stunning looks, prompting them to eagerly rush forward and offer to carry her heavy suitcase for her, leaving our annoyed protagonist completely ignored at the back of the line despite arriving first. This pink-haired senior happily leads the beautiful girl away to show her around the massive campus, until a loud, chubby student carrying a massive green sack suddenly comes sprinting toward them, aggressively shoving his official admission letter right into the startled senior's face to introduce himself, only for the guide to mockingly misinterpret his name as a joke about paying off debts. Another senior quickly steps in to gather the new group of freshmen to begin their orientation, as our observant protagonist silently notes that this goofy newcomer actually possesses an incredibly powerful aura. Wei Zio immediately activates his insight skill to inspect the strange newcomer's hidden stats, revealing that this goofy kid is actually a level 11 blood sacrifice priest with a hidden class, which instantly catches our protagonist's attention since hidden classes are incredibly rare, prompting our boy to introduce himself as an undead summoner as they quickly hit it off, while the chubby student marvels at his terrifying class as they casually stroll toward the dorms. Their pink-haired guide explains that the campus dorms are strictly divided by strength, smugly bragging about how he earned a spot in the prestigious second zone during his freshman, before leading the group to the registration desk to officially present the new recruits, where the arrogant senior instructs the 3 freshmen to hand over their official admission letters, allowing them to finally submit their documents and begin their legendary academy journey. This registrar immediately recognizes Nanjai from the imperial capital and welcomes her warmly, handing her the key to a highly coveted Zone 1 villa as a top-tier freshman, which completely shocks the pink-haired senior, who cannot believe a newbie got such prime real estate. But he tries to cope by telling himself the remaining 2 guys must be weaklings. Instead, the registrar assigns both Chu Kaiyan and Wei Zio to the prestigious Zone 2 dorms, sending the arrogant senior into an absolute state of panic over their insane starting ranks, while Chu Kaiyan suddenly spots someone familiar standing near the registration desk in the distance, pointing her out to our surprised protagonist, who immediately recognizes her as the fierce Su Zioking. As they walk over, the beautiful warrior turns around and notices our boy approaching her, prompting the chubby student to immediately step forward and confidently introduce himself to the gorgeous goddess. Su Zioking completely ignores the chubby kid to ask our boy which dorm room he got, leaving the poor guy utterly devastated that his grand introduction was so brutally cut short, before the beautiful warrior happily reveals that she is also staying in the very same zone, until a stylish, elegant woman suddenly approaches our protagonist and calls him by name. Wei Zio turns around in confusion, wondering who this mysterious lady could possibly be, only for her to introduce herself as Lu Weiniang, the summoning department's gorgeous new advisor, who immediately gets incredibly close to confirm if he is indeed the legendary top scorer. before playfully flicking his forehead while expressing her massive expectations for his academic future. Our flustered protagonist quickly backs away, nervously asking his overly affectionate teacher to calm down, but she just laughs and slaps his back, reminding him to attend tomorrow's freshman welcome party. Lu Weiniang waves a cheerful goodbye to our boy as she heads off, prompting Su Zioking to immediately tease him about secretly enjoying all the extra female attention, which leaves our clueless protagonist scratching his head as the annoyed warrior storms off, while a massive, ominous surge of dark purple energy suddenly erupts in a secluded area, catching the attention of a nearby Academy staff member who watches the explosion in utter disbelief as he instantly recognizes the terrifying phenomenon as a highly dangerous, newly spawned ruin, forcing him to sprint away in a total panic to warn the dean before it is too late.